10.
10 seconds. We have go for main engine start. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff of Shuttle Discovery. Combate Kudasai. Best of luck to the International Space Station's newest laboratory.
All right. My name is Cecily. I am a tandem instructor. The very first thing you'll notice is the sound of the door opening up. You can imagine it being similar to driving your car down the highway, but at 120 miles an hour with the windows rolled down, and then just sticking your entire body out. I don't know. It's just you kind of forget about the rest of the world whenever you skydive, because all you have to think about is the skydive itself. So I definitely plan on doing this until I can't do it any longer, for sure.
I'm David. I am the owner of Texas Skydiving. When I first jumped April 2008, I fell in love with it. It was on a whim, never thought about skydiving before. We came out and did the jumps, and then we were driving home, and my brother said, you know, if I can do that, I can do anything. And my first thought and response was, I want to do that again and again and again. Ever since I went in my first airplane, I noticed how small everything looks when you're in the plane, how insignificant things look. And I think that was a big deal for me, and it definitely puts things into perspective. A skydiving pilot job, it's a job where pilots don't get paid much, but they get a lot of hours very quickly, which is a great stepping stone towards corporate jobs like flying passenger jets and that sort of thing.
My name is Eric Mortensen, and I'm a pilot at United Airlines. As a kid, I was the one that was into aviation. I was very passionate about it. I had all the toys and the model airplanes, but I wound up from school kind of chasing what I thought would be better money, and it was like that movie Office Space, where I was stuck in there and hated it. And so it was an early midlife crisis. I was about 28 or 30. And went off and started flying as a student pilot with a 1-year-old baby at home. I got my first job with an airline at ExpressJet. And then after about a year, I switched to try out the international flying to see what that would be like, doing 12 and 14-hour flights instead of 2 or 3-hour flights. It's pretty eerie that, you're doing 10 hours and you're flying 500 or 600 miles an hour. You'll see the sun disappear behind you and then come up again way too soon. And the vastness of the Pacific Ocean is incredible. Funny story, I was flying on New Year's Eve, and we were doing one of those trans-Pacific flights. And a kid comes up and he says, "Hey, will you make an announcement when it's New Year's Eve?" And at the time I was like, "Yeah, sure, kid. Sounds good." And as we get going, I start doing the math on that and trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, how am I going to know what 12 o'clock is? Because we're moving from time zone to time zone. It was essentially like 10 p.m. and then we crossed the time zone and it was then 1 a.m. And so I was thinking, oh, this poor kid, I just robbed him because we never had a New Year's Eve. I bring that up just because you really lose a sense of time and distance and space. It's pretty easy. There's a lot of quiet times on the plane where you're looking out at the stars and constant reminders of just how space goes on for infinity.
Houston, Discovery, roll program.
Roger, roll, Discovery. Houston now controlling.
My name is Greg Shamatov. I'm a professor at Texas A&M University in aerospace engineering, and I spent 20 years at NASA as a flight controller and an astronaut. Actually, I wanted to do this since I was 6 years old. My family was on a vacation in Florida, and it just so happened to be the launch of Apollo 11, which was the first moon landing. When I saw that, I told my parents that that is what I want to do with the rest of my life, and somehow it worked out.
Throttle up.
Roger, go ahead, throttle up.
Throttle up call acknowledged by Commander Mark Kelly, joined on the flight deck by pilot Ken Ham, flight engineer Ron Guerin, and mission specialist Karen Nyberg. Down on the middeck are Mike Fossum, Aki Hoshide, and Greg Shamatov, heading for a half year on the International Space Station.
My first mission was Expedition 17 to the space station, and I flew up there on the shuttle mission, which was called STS-124. You know, it's kind of like traveling to a country you've never been to. You know, it's an experience you know something about it, but you're not really sure what it's going to be like when you get there.
Discovery already 5 miles in altitude, 8.5 miles downrange, traveling almost 1,000 miles an hour.
Launch is a dream come true, right? It's a lifelong dream come true. And it's happening, and it happens in a moment. Like, never sure until the countdown gets to 0 and the engines really start and you're really going to go. You know how they say your life passes before your eyes? You know, I was just thinking of all the things that have led to this moment, all the things that I've worked toward, that I had to overcome, you know, that enabled me to be there at that moment. And you're also getting out of the atmosphere. It's like someone took a light switch and just flipped gravity off. There's one thing to be inside the space station or inside the space shuttle, and then being outside, doing a spacewalk. I mean, first of all, there's just zero gravity, right? Or it's not really zero. You're falling. The space station's falling. You're falling together, and so, but the effect is like there's no gravity. Peeling yourself away from the window is really hard sometimes because you just want to stare. If you're inside and you're looking outside, you're looking through a porthole window. You see something could be amazing, but you're looking at it through a small window. When you're outside, you're in the environment. You see everything, and you're out there in the vacuum. And the only thing holding you to it is a tether. So you really feel like you are a separate entity in the entire cosmos. And you look around, it's an emptiness that just goes forever, in whatever direction you're looking. It's just unbelievable. I never thought I would leave NASA. I thought I would stay with NASA forever as a career. When I left NASA, we weren't going to the moon yet. It was going to be a long time, and it wasn't possible for me to pass medical tests long enough in order to be able to get to do that. We haven't gone back to the moon yet, and I'm already would pass the medical test. So I think for me, there was maybe a little bit of a transition from goals to purpose. And I think the purpose is to make all of this happen for humanity. So through teaching at the university and teaching younger kids in STEM and the research work I do, I think is all focused on this broader purpose of trying to help humanity achieve a positive future that involves, doing things in space, because that's what's next.